All right, we are recording.
Howdy, 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 howdy.
I'm going to count down the recap again and have Joelle interrupt.
I mean, that would be good for old time's sake, wouldn't it?
That was an introduction.
Yeah, that was
okay?
the very start. That was the foot we got off to.
Very good. But, so, in the last episode of the podcast, our brave adventurers had traveled far across the lands of Valmynth to the north to find the village of Rollin, hoping to find some sort of answers as to the funny business going on with a certain elven woman named Tiare and a certain dwarf named Warjack. A couple of other names have been bounced around on occasion, such as the painter Shinzi, who mysteriously is nowhere to be found, and not many have ever heard of him or talked to him at all. And beyond that, we also have strange mentions of a man named Furley, an estranged and strange I don't know what to call him. He's a guy who paid a guy to do a thing. Right? There's a word for that, right? Yeah, that's the thing.
An employer?
You know, I don't think that's that word. I don't think that's what that means. So anyway, Furley is the employer of Warjack, and you guys are not really sure what the deal with him is, but the party made it to the town of the village of Rollin, found that it was a tiny little squalid place with a lot of little dwarfy houses, but not too many, probably 40 people here in total. There was a bit of an interesting exchange between the party and our friend Warjack, involving a couple of mentions of shooting innocent people, a couple mentions of dropping arms and whatnot, but in reality what happened was quite the battle. A few dwarves were shot and killed, with Warjack being knocked unconscious in the center of the courtyard, leaving the party just enough time to sneak in through the paper doors to the fortress of Shinzi. So I guess gameplay begins with the party at the front doors to this place, and the front doors themselves are a couple of like Japanese-looking like paper sort of doors with the real easy sliders on them. But overall, the width of this whole thing is about 10 feet wide, so they're big doors, pretty well reinforced as well. But who is going to be opening up these doors?
First, Karsken would like to check out Warjack's weapon.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And so when you look over his gear, you can see that he's got something of a long chained flail that seems to have sort of an extension to it, so it can reach out about 10 or so feet, with a hefty bowling ball sized hollowed out hunk of metal covered in spikes at the end of it. It seems like he's got quite the intricate apparatus to hinge it onto his back so that he can remove it with a couple of unlocking joints to get shorter or longer extensions to it. But overall, it seems like a very difficult to use exotic weapon.
Okay, I think Karsken's probably gonna just pick that up and take it with him, since it's better than just like leaving it here for now. And then look over at everyone else and say, yeah, so why don't we tie Warjack and these two sleeping dwarves up, and then we'll make our way in.
So the two dwarves that were asleep are actually awake. They're just pretending to be asleep right now.
I know, but I don't think Karsken knows that.
Fair
Does
enough.
he? I know you mentioned it last time, but I don't know if we actually saw it or not.
Fair enough. So
Sounds good.
who's doing it?
I have a rope.
I can tie them up.
Okay.
Of course you can.
And so as Percy heads over to Warjack or the two other dwarves?
Warjack first.
Okay. And so you head over to Warjack, and he's out like a light. He's definitely very wounded from the combat that happened earlier, but he's breathing, like he's stable. And it seems like he would be easy enough to tie up. But yeah, go ahead and roll a dexterity check. And if you have sleight of hand, you can add proficiency.
That is a 20, not natural.
Okay. And so you tie up his arms pretty tightly and manage to hook him up that way. And so now, are you going to also tie up the other guys?
Yep.
Do we have other ropes?
I have rope.
Okay, so are you going to tie them all up with one single rope?
I mean, I have rope too, so
Okay, so all three of the ropes are given. So I'm going to need a couple more of these Slido hands.
Anyone want to, help me out
No, you're not allowed to fucking
or
do
give
that.
guidance?
That's not how that
Use
works.
corruption if you want.
Nope, that's fine. That's an 8
You got
So-
this.
and another 8.
So as you are headed over there to tie these goons up, as you notice, like you start to tie their arms a little bit. One of them that you're doing a really simple like mistake on the knot. He like moves his hands for you and still is like his eye opens for a second. He holds his hands up a little bit easier for you to tie him up.
See, I didn't need to cast guidance. You already got your own guidance.
Yeah.
that was nice
So-
of him.
The two of them get tied up and continue to pretend to be asleep, eyeballing you guys as you go.
Percy leans down. He's like, I saw that. If you want to live, I suggest staying here. And then I just pat him on the shoulder and I'll head over to the door.
Very good. Okay, so then the rest of the group is already at the door. So who's leading this party in?
Guess Karsken will open the doors, head in.
Okay. So with that, Karsken slides the two doors open, and before you is a section of hallway that goes to the left and to the right. Overall, the layout of this place is a lot of fancy finished wood, kind of like in my background here, but lots of tans and deep browns, lots of use of strange and exotic woods that not too many places around here use. You can tell this is definitely of the culture of the Katoans, but lots of use of like paintings on walls and sketches and etchings and things to sort of add ornate beauty to every single piece of this place. To the point that following Katoan's perfectionist culture, it seems like every single square inch of this place has some level of handwork detail to it. But before you is a hall that's about 10 feet across. To either side, left or right, there is a hallway that ends with a small square-shaped chamber, but directly ahead of you is another pair of sliding wooden doors. To the left, you can see what appears to be about 10 feet or so down the hall. You can see what appears to be something of like a mess hall, and you can smell the smell of like spices and herbs and stuff, and the smell of like stale beer and stale tea down that hall. And to your right, you guys can see that there's a series of bunks and like wardrobes and chairs and whatnot, sort of like a rec room / bunking area, and it looks like it could house about 10 or so people. Yeah. So what do you do?
So, do we want to just sort of keep pushing forward or investigate thoroughly?
I
guess.
think we should investigate because you never know who's hiding in here.
Okay. So who's doing lay investigate?
I mean,
I
I
can do
guess
some searchings.
we'll head towards the mess hall first.
Okay. So Grus scoots ahead, mentioning she was going to be doing this, and as the group heads towards the mess hall, keeping a distance, Grus can roll for an investigate check.
This is a great stat for me, by the way.
I mean, you said it.
I know.
Bad luck befalls those who play out of character.
No, it's okay. 14.
Okay. So yeah, you scuttle around inside this little bit of a mess hall, and you can see a bunch of what I would say look like aged and simple furniture, but it seems to be like very strong furniture. Like everything in here is professionally made of a very high caliber with decent little details where they can squeeze them in. But overall, it's a very simple and bland room. You can tell there's lots of reserves for things like grains and like dried vegetables and meats and whatnot. A small cupboard of the like, and a small, what I would describe as being like a very makeshift chimney sort of like furnace looking thing that somebody could use to heat water and whatnot. But apart from that, there's a couple of plates out here that seem to have been like very well cleaned up, as if somebody ate quite a lot of food in here not too long ago. So now what do you want to do?
I think we should keep searching. Maybe there's some other spots that may not be so obvious to like see. Maybe someone's hiding from us. Maybe we made a big commotion. So, you know.
So are we going to the other side, or
Yeah,
are you
we
saying
want to check out
there's...
the bunks?
Yeah,
Or
I'll
make
go
another-
investigate the bunks.
Okay, so in the meantime, you go check out the bunks. You can throw me an investigate for that.
18.
Okay, so glancing around inside of this little rec room slash bunkhouse, you can see that there are quite a lot of footlockers that have been kind of nestled underneath the bunk beds. Thumbing around in them really quickly, you can see that there's like sort of like off-duty clothing. There's a bunch of sort of like chainmail patches and leather patches to repair armor and whatnot. But apart from that, if you were to be the kind of person to take the money inside these things, altogether there's about 15 silver pieces to be had. And it seems like sort of like the spare change that's left behind. As far as like the rec room side of things go, there's a small table in the corner that has a group of like domino looking kind of tiles. You can see a bunch of cards laid out, some chips that look like wood, like wooden chips sort of thing, with different markings on them of dwarvish runes. And yeah, so apart from that, I mean, it's just a bunch of bunks.
Okay. Can I take the playing cards?
Yeah, it does seem like it's not a full set of cards, and it seems like somebody may have potentially used like half a deck.
Then I'll leave the playing cards.
Fair enough. Okay. So that Grus and Percy return to the middle area where Karsken and Vireen are, and both report their findings.
There's some nice chairs in there. And a lot of food.
Did you eat any of it?
No. This. I say we keep looking.
Okay. Well,
I
there's the
think
double
we're,
doors directly in front of you.
Yeah, I think we're ready to push on then.
Okay. All right. So, did you guys want to go through the double doors ahead of you?
Yep.
Okay. So sliding across the two wooden doors ahead of you with the paper screens to them, before you is about a 20-foot long stretch of hall, with the sides being sort of open in these sort of like window-looking things, as if somebody opened them up themselves. Judging by the time of year, it would make sense that somebody would probably open up the windows a bit, and you can see outside a couple of well-tended gardens, bushes, and shrubs outside. Nothing that seems like over the top, but again, a sort of humble perfectionism expressed throughout. The bits of walls that don't have windows to them, you can see markings of things like dragons and birds and small critters, some plants and whatnot. But yeah, again, very great detail. At the end of this hall is another set of paper doors, and these ones seem to be greatly ornate with sort of wood, like kind of like sectioning out the parts of the paper, giving really intense levels of detail.
It's a lot of work for a door. And then Karsken opens it and walks through.
Okay, so sliding these doors open, before you seems to be probably the pinnacle of the detail that you can find in this place. As you see before you, a chamber that stretches back about 50, 60 or so feet, and at the, it's sort of like I'd say like an hexagonal shaped room with sort of like two, I'd say like subwalls that are diagonally facing, but long stretching, sort of like just a strange looking rectangular shaped room, I guess I'd say, where there's sort of like an odd amount of detail to the room shape. So it's not a perfect rectangle, but it's got sort of like a nice architectural shape to it that makes it look a little bit more welcoming and a little bit more like included, as if it's sort of like the way that you could make a circularly shaped room in a place that's so fixed on right angles and articulate design. You see what I'm saying? But in the center of the room are 6 statues, 3 on either side, creating 2 rows of three, and all three on the left side seem to be women, and all three on the right side appear to be men. All of them seem to be armed with weapons and gear. Some of them seem to take more heroic and brutal-looking poses. Some take sort of wounded-looking, dramatic poses, and others just look stoic in their pose. Adorning the walls on both the left and the right are various paintings that definitely meet the style of Shinzi that you had seen before. Each one of these paintings being of either a woman or a man, different poses involved, sort of kind of referencing the statues inside the room. But these paintings on the walls take on different forms, sort of like some aggressive poses, some of them not so much, but for the most part, each one of them seems to be centered on a single person in something of either a nature scene or like a battle scene or something like that, something that really pits them as like the center of attention and is brutally detailed. But at the far end of the room, directly across from you guys, almost as sort of like a mirrored response to the two people leading the group in the front sliding the doors open, at the far end of the room are two large paintings that stretch about 10 feet tall, with radical amounts of detail on them. There is one side to the left that has a woman with a parasol with a bunch of cherry blossom trees and a bunch of little petals falling to the ground around her. And to the right side, you see something that can only be described as a living nightmare for Vireen, where glancing across the room quickly, she sees somebody straight out of a nightmare. A man with dark hair, with darkened metal armor, who stands in a regal pose with a weapon at his side, standing amongst a couple of stone columns. In the background, you can see storm clouds, but he takes on something of a regal pose. It's almost as if, like, kind of the equivalent of having, like really detailed paintings involving the devil, where it's like, even though it seems sort of like sacrilegious or blasphemous to do such a work of art, the concept of him being so, like, as he is, sort of, you can accentuate it with humanizing him in the painting. So it's not like somebody just like drew the devil or something. Like, they've almost romanticized him as, like, you know what I mean? Like a really romanticized villain sort of setup. You know what I mean? But apart from that, the room has no doors, and it just seems to be the only room here. What do you do?
The woman with the parasol. Can you see what color her hair is?
Yeah, so as you enter the room and come walking through, passing by the statues, you can tell that the woman's hair is black, and she looks to be Katoan.
Cool.
Now, what do the rest of you do?
I wonder if...
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Grus asked, should we check the rest of the paintings? Maybe they're like the ones at that guy's house, the Lord.
Okay.
Yeah, more paper golems.
Yeah, what if this is a trap?
Well, I think these two here are special, because that one is of Ryanel.
Oh.
Which everybody recognizes his visage, especially after she had talked about her dream that she had. It's clear that that's the case, but it's just one of those really creepy things where, in a world without electronic media, in a world without, like, you know, a lot of spread books, to be able to see somebody from your dreams just, like, on there, like, everybody knows what he looks like, but to have just the spitting image, like, within a week of having such a nightmare, like, that's kind of fucking freaky.
Spooky, scary.
Percy try to move the painting of him?
Yeah, so as you go over and try to budget, it seems like it's actually built like into the frame of the wall, as if like one of those kind of like infinity pools. This is like seamlessly transitioning into the wood of the walls.
Is the parasol one like that as well?
They're right next to each other, like touching.
Is there like a resemblance between the two individuals in the paintings?
No. To be honest, the woman with the parasol actually looks very plain and average, as if almost like the natural phenomena around her of the petals falling is the more beautiful part of the painting.
Interesting.
Karsken's gonna go around and give all the statues little kisses, little smooches.
Okay. And so as Karsken's going around and fondling around on all the statues, getting close enough to them, you recognize that all these are made with some sort of like stoneworked medium, but their weapons and gear are all fashioned from metal, various metal like brass or bronze, some of them with even like some level of steel, some with gold tips and whatnot. But for the most part, it's marble or jade for the bodies, and then the metal for the gear.
Kisses.
Percy's gonna go around checking the other paintings to see if he can make them budge at all.
Okay. And so, much like the other ones, these ones are also pretty well fastened into the wall. And so, even when you try to get like a real good like finger to the edge or like to the sides of them to try to like needle in, they all seem like they're built like, I don't want to say like into the wood, but to find a seam, you'd need like a dagger and really pry it in there to get in there.
Are there any other doors in the room?
Nope.
And there's like no table, anything?
As if this is sort of like a gallery.
A gallery.
Um,
Right.
So, what's Grus doing now?
I don't know. I think Grus would have everyone, like, as much as I was Grus was curious to go and check all the paintings, like, is now also like getting scared and is like, but what if this is actually like everything's about to like happen? Is there anything else that look like? Can I investigate the rest of the room that's not just like the paintings? Like, or is it just this gallery-esque? There's not like stuff in like corners or doors or anything
No,
like that.
there really isn't anything else. If anything, it's as if like the walls are made starkly plain to accentuate the paintings that do exist.
Did we notice the look on Vireen's face when she saw these paintings? Like, or was it stone face? Because if not, I would be inclined to ask Vireen, hey, what's going on? Is there something weird with these paintings that you're feeling a particular way?
So what's the deal, Vireen? Did you make a face?
I mean, I guess I'd just be like, oh, well, that's shit.
Okay.
I'd
That's what I know.
imagine the feelings had to be kind of similar to that whole thing when people are like, oh, I got the shivers. Somebody walked across my grave. You know what I'm
Like,
talking
I'd
about?
see it and I'd be like, ooh,
That weird, like,
Asia, I don't like that.
yeah, that Kubrickian, like the room extends kind of feeling when you see the painting. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it looks exactly
So
like him from my
Grus-
dream.
Grus is gonna like come stand closer to you because she's just kind of getting nervous and is like, is this painting gonna pop up and fight me? So I get closer and I ask, so it's a little weird that this guy's here, isn't it? And I look at him.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want that kind of painting there all the time. You know, like it's
I mean-
there. It's not gonna move. You can't take it down.
I mean, the overall quality of these things, if somebody was to appraise these, it looks like these individual paintings would be worth probably thousands of gold pieces. So like the quality of these things is like somebody's life work is in here. Like this is magnum opus stuff. So taking somebody so cruel and so brutal as him and putting it into a form like this is itself its own kind of like artistic conundrum that you would imagine somebody somewhere would deeply appreciate a painting like that.
Yeah, I mean, even bad guys like good pieces of art.
That's true. I saw Percy looking at a piece of art the other day, and he really liked it.
Macaroni art.
Then
So
the
is
next
there
day I was
any-
like, I don't like it anymore.
Like, damn, Bruce has got a great hand for macaroni art.
So we have
Um,
cherry blossoms, and then we have a Prince of Darkness.
Do you think any or like these paintings are related to kind of like this weird plan that's been going on? Like people are getting paintings and dying. Like, do you think he, as I look up at him, as Grus looks up at him and says, "You think he has anything to do with this, or is a part of this in any weird way?"
Well, I
Perfect
mean,
plan.
Trying to make Grus is just trying to make conversation because I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
But I mean, in legend, isn't the story that he's trapped in? He's trapped in.
Diamond?
I don't want to.
Crystal?
Yeah, crystal, diamond, some super medium there. Yeah.
Oh, well, I wanted to say stone, but I'm like, it's not stone, so.
No, it's
Yeah.
diamond for what the legends say.
Yeah, so legend says that he's trapped in diamond, so I don't really think that he's doing it. I think maybe people might be doing it in his name, like a lot of people and so many people in this world do things in other people's names and claim that they're doing it for another cause that.
I will say, additionally, I know I keep talking about the artistic qualities of things, but it's like, again, a lot of the artwork centering around like Satan in like Christian history came from people who worshipped, Jesus as Savior. So it's like the idea of having somebody create this, it could be just somebody who's deeply into history. I just don't want anybody thinking like, oh, it's a cult room because there's the bad guy's painting. Like, he's just such a historic figure that it's like, it wouldn't be surprising to see it. Not that anybody's leaning that way, but just in case somebody starts leaning that way.
So Percy's going to take a look around on the floor for any puddles.
Okay. I mean,
Don't worry, there's just my puddle.
Gross.
What?
I'm scared.
So I'm going to need both Karsken and Percy to do a wisdom check. Perception if you got proficiency.
Peeping 5.
10.
Very good.
15, 20.
So y'all can't find any puddles, and Karsken kisses a few cute statues on the face.
So there's nothing with these paintings.
No.
I mean, if we're looking for it, wouldn't that be investigation?
No.
Oh,
okay. You gotta trust me on this. But in this case, so now what's Karsken doing? I heard the kissing the statues, and Percy was looking for puddles and whatnot. I know that was sort of a joke, but I took it.
Yeah.
I was legit looking on the ground.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm sorry. It was my puddle the whole time.
Well, we heard it the first time. Nobody laughed that hard at your puddle joke, okay?
Do the statues have any kind
of... Thank you for the pity laugh.
Plaque or anything?
Wait a minute, she meant she peed. Wait, she was talking about peeing on the floor.
Do any of the pieces of art have, like, plaques or something that give them, like, a name or anything else?
No, surprisingly, it almost appears as if, like, none of his work ever has it, since now you guys are sort of weirdly, like, well acquainted with his art style. And the fact that these things are built into the wall strikes as, like, his style, seeing sort of, like, windows into another dimension. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the ability to see, like, such a stark landscape difference from the wooden walls seems to be, like, his MO, I guess I'd say. But seeming to, like, take away the idea of it being, like, a named piece or anything like that. That seems to be, like, his style.
All right, well, I've tried everything else, so I guess I'll try moving the statues. See if they budge.
Okay, so...
Can't...
No, what were you saying, Sarah?
I was just saying this can't be all that it is, right?
I hope not.
Because Warjack said that they were in here, so...
Warjack also said something important about this stuff. I don't know if you guys remember it, but he did mention something pretty important.
Did you guys hear that?
Was it my chair?
Don't look out your window. Oh no, she looked out the window.
Oh no.
Here we go.
Guys.
Sarah, don't die!
I mean, Ryan's been making squeaky thump noises this whole time.
Yes.
No, there was like a really loud bang outside, like a gunshot bang.
Oh, it's probably fireworks. People are doing
Or like
fireworks outside
or
my
like
house.
a transponder box blowing or something. But my door was unlocked, so now I'm like, beep, boop, burp, 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 burp.
A good idea.
Good.
Guys, warn me.
You had it coming. We know what you did with them Cadbury eggs. So now, so Sarah, you were saying something before that?
No,
I finished.
you were saying that the Warjack said something important. Is it
Oh,
that
yeah.
nobody's ever seen Shinzi?
That's true.
And that's supposedly
And he also mentioned something about Furley.
Fiare and Forley are supposed to be in. No, I don't remember anything about that.
I mean, from what he said in passing was just that, like, he doesn't even know where they are in there. And that the place is labyrinthian, so it's like...
Good. Good. All right, I'm gonna try
so-
to move the statues, but not with enough force, like on the upper half to tip them or anything, because I
Sure.
don't want anything to break.
Why
But
don't you roll an investigation check, and we'll have you specifically just like to kind of get a very good feel for these statues.
it's an 11.
So one thing I
Karsken
will
already
say,
got a good feel.
that's true. So one thing I will say is that once you were looking around at these statues and getting kind of a good vibe for like how you would push them if you did, again, these things seem to be as like minimalist as possible and built sort of like onto the floor. So there's very small places where they're actually mounted. It's not like a slab of marble and then they're on top of it. They're almost like awkwardly like your height, as if they're just like big fancy mannequins. But one thing you do notice that, you know, was already mentioned before about it being really nice metal is that a lot of this metal is like really pristine and shiny, as if somebody comes through and must polish this stuff like every day or something like that, because there is no tarnish on any of these metals.
Can I try to remove one of the weapons?
Yeah, so as you try to pull it out, it does feel like it's mounted in there pretty good.
Okay.
What weapon were you actually trying to pull out? Because
I meant, do any of them have any bows or crossbows? Because that's what I'd go for first.
solid gold. No, none of
No.
them. None
Okay,
of them have that.
Daggers?
For the majority of them, they have either swords or they have spears. Some of them have shields, but there's only two of them.
Then I'd go for the spear first.
Okay, so you walk over and you start grabbing for the spear and start tugging at it, and it doesn't seem like it budges. But I'm going to need another perception check.
A nat 20.
So as you struggle and pull at it,
Now,
and you like,
story. Yay!
I mean, it's just a matter of time before somebody looks at the right place. But as you're pulling on the spear and pulling harder and harder and trying to get a good grip towards the end, you sort of like mount a foot towards the edge of it to pull harder. You slide on the slick metal and like fall to your back and get a little prick on your finger from the edge of the spear tip. And when you're falling your back and start like, you know, put your finger in your mouth to get the blood off, you look up really quickly and see that this sort of like acrobatic pose that this person's taking with their shield to the side and the spear sort of pointing up. You for a split second look up and you see something catch your eye in the shield when you notice that the shield's reflection is like just a actual mirror. Like it's not just shined metal, like this is pristine shine. But what you notice is that because the concave nature of the mirror, you can see that it sort of like weirdly distorts the reflection behind you. And as you look into it a little bit closer, you see very clearly in the painting behind you of a man who seems to be something of like a woodcutter fending back a wolf. You can see something strange on the tree next to him, where you see some of the leaves have a shadowy pattern that has sort of an arrow pointing to a miscolored leaf that looks a little bit darker than the rest of them. But you would only notice this because of the way it's stretched out kind of like weirdly.
I will go over and touch that leaf.
Okay, and what you notice is as you push on the canvasy, like, you know, top of this thing, you feel that there's almost like a piece underneath it that's a little bit lower than the rest of the wood. And when you push a little bit harder, you hear the wood start to like kind of like click as if something like is coming like unhinged. And with that, you are able to push the painting, the whole thing back a little bit, like an inch or two, and the whole thing sort of falls onto wheels, and it feels like it slides a little bit to the left.
Do any of the others have shields as well?
Yes, one other one does, and it seems to have its shield up in like a glorious pose. But even when you go to look at this one, it doesn't seem anywhere near as shiny.
Okay.
But everybody else looks over and sees you just like shove the painting in. Like, Percy's not taking it anymore. He's fucking out of here. Just.
I found another doorway. If you guys want to go check that out.
Okay.
Okay, so as you...
Yeah, we can do that.
I mean, kissing the statues is very top priority, but...
I would hope he's made it through 6 statues at this point.
Well, yeah, but then,
it was
you
very
know,
intimate on those last couple.
It was a speed dating thing where you go around and you find you get to know all of them, and then you pick 2 or 3. And I was going back for the 3rd date with that fellow over there, but
so the painting slides aside.
Oh my god!
And behind it is a small stairwell that's made of stone, and it seems to go almost like subterranean, and it goes down about 10 or so feet. The hallway itself is really only about 6 or so feet wide, But yeah, and it seems to end in a dark elbow of a hallway.
Where
So,
are people? It's
What'd you s-
fireworks. Just scared the shit out of me again.
very good. And so, who's got a light source if we're using one?
I was gonna say, can I get a torch? I need a torch. Torch me.
I
Light her up.
light Vireen on fire.
Okay, and so
Free at
with that,
last.
Jesus Christ. And so with that, the torch is lit, and you descend a little bit. So who's in the front?
I suppose me, because I've got the torch. And it.
Okay,
I'll be right next to her.
okay. It's going to be a conga line just because the room's not very wide.
I'll go third.
Okay, with Grus in the rear. And so the four of you
Okay.
descend down, little caterpillar conga line down the stairwell. And would you like to slide the painting shut, or would you like to keep it open?
We should probably shut the door behind us, just in case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't want anyone following us in or knowing we're here.
Oh,
And so with that-
Well, I didn't know we could
guy.
like shut the painting, but yeah, whatever that means.
And so with that, the last in line, Grus reaches up high, grabs onto something of a small wooden handle on that piece that kind of slides out, and uses it to slide it shut, and pushes it back up onto the hinge spot, and you hear it lock into place. And with that, Vireen leads the party down the small stairwell and down around the corner, where there is a passageway that goes about 35, 40 feet back before it ends on a right turn.
I guess we're gonna go right.
Okay, so you walk down the hall at a decent pace, and then you reach the right turn, and you see before you a stairwell that goes up, and it ends with a wooden wall.
Wooden wall. How big is this wall?
Well, I just mean like as if there would be a door there, but it's just wooden wall.
Ah, okay.
And so as you walk up close enough to it, you recognize that there's a small chunk of wood in there as well that can be pulled back and slid aside in the same way as the other one. Would you like to do so?
Yep.
Okay. And so with that, you pull aside the door and slide it open. And before you is something of great fantastic quality. As you slide the door open, and before you is a chamber that is interesting in its architecture, where there's sort of like two lifted balconies with a center area that seems to be on like the ground level where you guys are, now that you've gone back up to a ground level at the top of the stairs. In the center of the room is a massive tree that is stout, it's wide, with tons of heavy branches reaching out on all sides, and builds up with just like endless like reaches of these branches. Overall, the tree at its base is probably about 10 feet of roots on either side. So it's just really well rooted into the ground. And it seems like the ceiling in here is about 30 or so feet up, and this tree seems to be built to fit in this room perfectly. But the most fantastic part of the tree, when you look at it, are just tons and tons of strange fruits and vegetables dangling from its branches of any variety of colors. You see vines sprouting out of the tree in strange ways that just doesn't seem to follow the natural order of plant life, but you see like grapes dangling next to mangoes. You see a random pineapple growing out of the side of a tree branch. You can see also like a couple of things of lemons just dangling off of a strange looking vine. Like it's just a lot of very weird setups for fruits and vegetables in here, but all their colors are bright and vibrant. So far as I know, the only people who have truly traveled really far, I think Vireen is the only one who's actually traveled like across oceans, right? So you guys who have been to the city have probably come across some of these vegetables and fruits and these weird things, but for the most part, like Vireen is probably the only one who recognizes like the majority of them. But even then, there's a lot in here that you've never seen before, like strange, vibrant, blue-colored berries dangling from things, and like strange, spiky-looking fruits. It's very odd, but they're all growing in the same tree, and if anything, like kind of randomly. It's not like, oh, there's a branch of lemons. It's like there's just all smacked together in these different spots. But to your left and to your right are a set of stairwells that go up onto these balconies that are sort of like at a height where somebody could reach into the tree and pluck things out of it. But I will need a perception check from Vireen since she's in the front, unless you guys want to enter the room.
I mean,
did
yes,
Vireen
we
move up enough
do.
for us to enter?
That's
That's
essentially
that's
it.
up
Yeah.
for Vireen to decide.
Why don't we have her make a perception check?
I feel
and then
like
we'll
the whole
move in?
time we've been walking through this tunnel, I've been like, why is nobody checking what's going on? So I'm gonna check what's going on.
Wait, what? You've been in the front the whole time. That's your
Right.
job, homie.
I know, but I just mean like, you know,
I'm
I'm like,
making
God.
sure nothing gets our rear.
I got 12.
Okay, so one thing you notice is one of the branches in the back bobs a little bit under something's weight, and you see a couple more branches coming closer and closer to you start to kind of like.
Yo, something's in the tree and it's coming this way.
Meanwhile,
Yay.
Grus in the back's like, "There's a tree."
What tree? No one behind Karsken can see past
Just, I
it.
tuck and roll and just into the room as a little no. Yeah, so something's
It's
coming
just an
towards
apple
us.
tree.
So like, hey, can I duck down? Like, can I crouch?
Is this what happens when we let you talk more than anybody else? Like, "Ooh, I attacked the tree. Like,
No,
why
I
are you
don't want to
attacking
attack the tree. I want to crouch and become a smaller target.
Sure, you can run to the side. So
So
as
you're
you
saying
run into the
something's
I
room,
coming.
crouch.
so as you run into
Yeah, I
the
said it was
room
coming.
and like crouch to the side by one of the stairwells, did you want to go to the left or the right side?
To the right.
Okay, so you rush over to the right, and as you do a quick glance, you can see a couple of large wooden doors, double doors, both on the right balcony and on the left balcony. But you rush over to the entrance of the stairs, and Karsken's right behind. Are you also going to try to flood into this room?
I mean, if Vireen just sprinted off, then Carson's gonna go into the
I
room,
said
yes.
something was in the trees and was coming. I did say
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yes, I know.
I
And
just
then
buggered
you
off
just
and was like,
it.
like ran off.
You tucked and rolled. You're like, something's coming. And I tucked and rolled out of the way. So Karsken's like, okay.
Well, because we can't all just stand in that little hallway entrance that
Right,
just are
yeah,
lined
so-
up to get killed in one shot.
Karsken's
true.
gonna walk into the room now. Yes.
And then Percy and Grus walk in cautiously as well.
I figured, are there any, like, what do the walls around us look like? Are they wooden or are they stone?
In the bottom part that you're in, or up top of the tree?
I
Directly
guess the
adjacent to
bottom
her.
part, like, because we were in, like,
Okay.
the hallway, right?
Yeah, when you're down in the bottom of the subterranean, it's all stonework.
Cool. I'm gonna try, because I hear something's coming, I'm gonna hide and use my
The chimney all
special
looked over
stone
again.
camouflage. Yeah, exactly. Just
Okay,
because
go
I
ahead.
don't, but once I hear shit go down, I'll come out.
Okay, and what's Percy doing?
So when Percy enters and sees this tree, he's just like, guys, that's not normal. Do you want to burn this tree down?
No.
Well,
I
It
don't want to
shouldn't
burn this tree
Produce
down.
all these. Okay.
We should kill
Yeah,
it!
but just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean we should burn it.
What'd you get,
It's-
Joelle?
Probably
I
cursed
got
magics.
a 19 to hide.
And so
He's
with
the most
that,
hidiest.
the rustling in the branches seems to intensify a little bit and get closer and closer. So could I get a perception check from both Karsken and Percy who are standing there contemplating assaulting the tree?
17.
What
It's
he
just a
got
wild
minus 10.
caterpie.
What'd you say, Brian?
What he got minus 10.
It's a 7. Okay. Thank you for the math. And so with that,
Gotta keep the mind
Percy.
sharp.
So with that, Percy's the only one who can see it a split second before it happens, but a feline form launches out of the tree directly for Karsken, and as everybody kind of shudders aside for just a second, Percy's the only one who doesn't seem to be all that alarmed by it, as he sees it at the very end of the branch right before it pounces, is about the size of like a fat cat. And it's just like a 12-pound fat cat with bright golden fur and bright green eyes, and it just launches out of the tree and lands on Karsken's shoulder and immediately just starts like rubbing its face on his face and just doing the.
This is like the third or fourth cat we've met that's been up in our face. Is this the one we're supposed to keep? Because we didn't keep the other one?
There's a lot of abandoned cats in this world.
I mean that's a cry for help. But yeah, so I mean the cat just lands on your shoulder.
Karsken's gonna look over and be like, yeah, I think it was maybe just the cat. If you guys want to come out. Also, easy there, buddy. I was I was getting into it pretty heavy earlier, so there's gonna be some slobber on there.
Percy starts readying his crossbow. He's like, Karsken, stay still. There's something on you.
The cat
Do you
looks
want
at
me-
you.
Don't you dare hurt that
You
cat!
want me to take care of it, Karsken? Are you okay?
This
you
is the
feel safe?
podcast I wanted. Right. This is it.
Can I go up the stairs?
On the right side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Cool.
so you walk up to the top, and before you is like the balcony itself is probably about 10 feet wide, or at least 10 feet deep once you get to the top of the stairs. And you can see that the balcony seems to reach from one side of the room to the complete other, with another stairwell going down, as if the tree itself is in the center, with two stairwells that kind of go up on either side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you said there were doors.
There is a set of double doors at the top of this side and on the other side.
So where are they on this side in relation to where I am?
They're in the direct center at the top of the balcony. So once you get to the top of the stairs, they're like right before you.
Okay.
Okay.
Carson's gonna look over at the guy and be like, yeah, so which one's your favorite? Because don't tell anybody, because I'm supposed to be an apple farmer. But I like raspberries the best.
The cat looks to you with a sense of brilliance and like looks deep into your eyes in a very calculating and understanding way, and leaps off of you with a bit of strength, but has sort of that like America's Funniest Home Video cat thing where it like jumps and like fails terribly and lands on the floor, kicks up a bunch of dust, and does like the cat at 2 in the
Carsken
morning.
laughs a little bit. He likes it.
After the cat like takes a dump at like 2 o'clock in the morning and runs around the house like it's Daytona 500, like he just skitters back under that tree and just climbs up it halfway and looks back at you with a big dumb look on his face, like, and then just keeps climbing up and just rushes through the branches. And with that, a couple of the branches start to shake, and it walks towards the end of one of the branches, and one of these stalks just lowers itself a little bit, and you can see a couple of dingling little like stems with 3 individual raspberries hanging off, and each of them seems to be like a bright reddish purple color, and they all look super fat and juicy with some thick berry boys.
Carson's just like, you magnificent beast. And
the cat stares you deep in the eyes as if like listening to every word, and just goes.
And then he's gonna walk over and grab the 3 berries, and then he looks over and realizes that he has 3 companions, but only has 3 berries. So he's like, "Does anybody want a berry?"
I'll take one.
Where's Grus in all this? Because I know you ran out of hiding and yelled about cat murdering or something.
Yeah, so I figured I am like kind of like towards that door still, and looks like people are getting berries. Where's that cat at?
Up in the tree, holding the berries down.
Yeah, get me the berries.
Okay.
But once you pluck the berries, if you're gonna pluck them, the cat runs off back into the tree.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'll head up the stairs to meet Vireen.
Okay. And so who has the
No
berries?
on the berries from Vireen and Grus.
What?
No berries for you two?
I'm okay.
I'm
Okay.
upstairs, but I'm also okay.
And so-
so I'm gonna give one to Percy and then keep the other 2 and eat one.
Okay. Can I have Percy and Karsken, do you eat them like immediately, or are you walking up the stairs?
I'm gonna ask right after I give Percy his and confirm that Vireen and Grus don't want theirs. I'll have one of mine. Yeah.
Okay. Is Percy gonna eat them like at the same time?
Yeah,
Okay. Can I get con saves from both of you two?
Hell yeah.
And
No.
Karsken can roll at advantage, and Percy rolls at disadvantage.
it doesn't matter.
Crit
It
fumble.
should.
Why? A natural 1 on the first roll is the worst I can do.
Every roll should matter to you.
I was gonna pull a just like one of those where Percy tries it and spits it out because he realized he doesn't like raspberries and just throws it on the ground. Karsken was really looking forward to him, just wasted one.
I got an 18.
Okay. And so as the two of you guys just kind of roll them around in your hands and plop them in your mouths to take a bite, it blows up with bright red and purple, like dry pigment, and it's just like, and like a smoke bomb of just raw, dry pigment. And Percy is poisoned for the next hour as he inhales this raw chemical taste,
no.
and he is completely covered in purplish red color, as well as Karsken, who is too, but manages to fend off the I just think now, as soon as I did this, now Karsken's like, it's kind of dry, but it's not bad.
Yeah, he's totally unaware that he's like, yeah, I mean, it might be out of season.
And then Karsken plops the other one in.
Yeah, I don't normally eat these off of trees. They're normally bushes, so maybe the tree ones are just a bit different. But
so the two of you are covered in
just
like purple smoke bomb of pigment, and yeah, it just like fills a little purple cloud, but then descends and leaves like little purple spots on the ground. And as you guys look down quickly, you can see a couple of little kitty prints have gone through it already, and the little cat seems to be kind of like tossing up dust piles over near Karsken, and looks over at Percy with a look of slight disdain.
Karsken's going to take the other berry and then like throw it on the ground like a smoke bomb for the cat.
I don't trust this cat.
You mean like you throw it at the ground so it'll pop?
Yeah.
Oh.
So it'll make more for the cat to run through.
So the cat gets like coated in this stuff and starts like and goes running out of there, back up the tree.
I mean,
like,
it wasn't at the cat. It was just somewhere.
Oh, I know. It just pops next to it, and the cat runs through the little cloud, scared shitless. And it's purple now, and now it sits halfway up the tree, purple with gold underneath it, and just like looking back at you guys with hissing voice, and the thing looks at you guys disdainfully.
Look, I didn't do shit to you, cat, so don't you be
It
getting
ain't looking
upset.
at you. You're on the other side of the room. It's just looking at the two purple boys.
I'm just making sure.
Purple people eaters over here. So both Grus and Vireen look down there and they see just a puff of purple cloud and see the two of you guys down there like, what?
Big thumbs up.
I'm gonna thumbs up back. Can we go through these doors?
Sure. So once you slide those doors aside, before you is the chamber with the 6 statues, and you can see all the paintings on the wall. But now looking directly across, you can see nothing more than the paper doors that you had come in originally. So the doors that you must have opened must be secret passage behind the Ryanell and Cherry Blossom pictures.
The door I just opened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a well fucking hidden secret passage behind some paintings.
Almost as if he was a reclusive, shut-in artist.
All right, so guess we got to go through the other doors on the other side of the balcony.
Jock
Sounds
rocking.
good.
Why do we have to jock rock everything? So the party goes, the crowds.
Rocking is important.
Because it's what
So-
the people want.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
So with
You
that,
know what? I dare them to go on and leave a review and say that they don't like it.
I
then.
mean, Karsken and Percy look like they're at
0
Coachella
stars.
right now. So, like, we're good. Put on
Every
some
show.
EDM.
We're good.
I'm gonna take a couple Molly and we're gonna make this thing happen.
I've got flashing sneakers. I'll
Hell
put them
yeah.
on.
okay,
Hell
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so the party walks to the other balcony, covered in purple pigment and whatnot, and before you are a couple of wooden doors with some gold sort of detailing to some very fancy looking etching, but apart from that, the door looks to be probably the most well reinforced of all doors in this place. But yeah. So what do you do?
Open the door that's well reinforced.
All right. So you slide the door open, and as soon as you do, you can hear the sounds of arguments that were already going on seem to just like get louder, as if you just open the doors to a room without listening. And before you,
We haven't listened to any other door, so I figured
Oh.
it would be cheating for me to be like, well, now I listen at this one.
I feel like now might be the time. You're like, wow, this door looks well reinforced and strangely different from the rest.
Oh, see, I
But
was
anyway.
thinking about it, but I'm like, we haven't done it for any of the other doors. It would be silly for me to be like,
Well, now I know it's an important door. I should check and listen at it.
so I figured.
This is just a roller coaster right now, having you talk more than anybody. I don't know what's going on. Just you start
See,
becoming
this
a
is
child
why-
voice. You're just
This
like
is why
charging
I
into
told
rooms.
you that I shouldn't
I
be the
love
one that
it.
talks a lot.
It's
So,
great.
I'm a
with
woman
that,
of action.
and so with that,
Hell yeah.
as the door opens before you and you slide it across, you see a room that is very wide. I guess I'd say it's probably about 80 feet wide at the widest. This seems to be like the main artistic room. I guess I'd say like the actual painting room, where you can see tons of boxes and tables and odd ends of the room, and tons of canvases with like half-painted designs on them. There is a young
shit.
man in the back corner on the far left, who's all the way at the end, about 40 feet to the left in the back corner, and he is yelling like over his shoulder at somebody. And as soon as you open up the doors, he looks back at you and he looks surprised for a second, and he like starts looking over behind. There's like a spiral staircase in the center of the room, directly across from you, and he seems to be looking at like the other side of it as if something might be behind it. And on the other side, there's a couple of couches and some more canvas hung up on the walls and stuff. It looks like a lot of started but not finished projects. Overall, the room is about 25 feet deep and like 80 feet wide, like I said. But I will need Vireen to go ahead and make me a wisdom saving throw as she slides the doors open all kinds of willy-nilly.
I'm smiling though. I've got my best smile on. You said a wisdom saving throw?
Can you roll that at disadvantage?
You know what? I got 19. Why you gotta take that away from me?
Somebody had to go cover in a purple cat. Okay.
I got a 3.
Somewhere on the tree branch, you guys hear this like Heathcliff Garfield level of like.
I don't get why the
Karsken, I
cat
told you.
ran through the poison cloud if it didn't like it. Like I said,
It was like, the cat's playing with the innate stuff on the ground. Let's give it some fresh stuff.
Well, like, yeah,
Goose.
but I didn't say I threw it at or near the cat. I just
I mean,
threw
it
on
blows up. The point is
Yeah.
that like even when you guys ate it, like it blew up. Hey, listen, man, it's
You
a
can
cat,
have good
okay?
intent and shit can still go bad.
Yeah, it's
I know.
capricious,
I
okay?
just don't understand why it then ran through the poison cloud that I didn't throw at it.
So as you,
I feel like it likes being purple.
So as you hear the cat noise in the background and you kind of like look back quickly, as soon as you look forward again, you see at the top of the stairs some black ooze-like thing just start
fuck.
like Kubrickingly styled like ooze slide down and fall off the spiraling stairwell, and it reaches up and takes on this giant centipede form. And once it reaches to its highest point, a childlike face kind of crawls out of its mouth, and tons of black tongues start reaching out and like aiming towards you and just like start like pulling towards you. And everybody behind the very audacious and fast moving Vireen can see she like steps back and like her heart stops for a moment. And all three of you hear somebody yell in the back of the room in the middle of like an argument that comes to an abrupt end. And they're like, hey, but you guys see nothing on the stairs. You see nothing before you or anything like that. You just see Vireen like, and all right.